The silent planet. The wind was silent on the dead planet. Nothing moved. The sky was dark, filled with broken stars and clouds of ash. Once, this world had life. Once, it had laughter, families, cities, and green skies. Now, there was only silence. In the middle of this ruined land, a young alien girl named Lyra sat inside a broken building. She was small, thin, and her eyes were too tired for someone so young. Her skin was a soft silver color, and her long white hair was tied in a rough knot. She looked up at the sky every day, hoping, just hoping. It had been 9 years since the war ended. Or maybe it never ended. Her people had fought bravely, but they were not strong enough. Her family had sent her into hiding in an old bunker under the ground. They never returned. Every day, Lyra walked to the edge of the cliff and looked up. She searched the stars for any sign of a ship. But the stars had turned cold. No ship ever came. Until today. She felt it before she saw it. The air changed. The sky made a strange sound, like a deep whisper. She ran outside looking up, her heart beating fast. There it was. A ship not big, not small, not from her world. It moved slowly, carefully. It circled above once, twice, then began to land near the old stone towers. Lyra's first thought was fear. Maybe it was the enemy. Maybe they had come to finish the job. She grabbed a sharp metal rod and hid behind a wall, peeking out. The ship opened with a hiss. White steam escaped into the air. Then, a figure stepped out. It was strange, tall, wearing a dark suit. A helmet covered its face. It looked around, scanning the area. Then it did something Lyra did not expect. It knelt down and placed a small object on the ground. From the object came a soft blue light. It spread across the dirt and showed images. Old pictures, videos, of smiling humans and alien allies. The voice from the device was gentle. "We come in peace. We are looking for survivors. If you are here, you are not alone." Lyra's hands shook. Her eyes filled with tears. She had not heard another voice in years. The figure stood up and removed the helmet. Underneath was a human man. Tired eyes. A kind face. He looked around again and then said quietly, "I know you're here. I won't hurt you." She stayed hidden. She wasn't sure. Was this a trick? The man sat down on a rock and waited. He didn't move. Minutes passed. The sun started to set, painting the sky in red and purple. Finally, Lyra stepped out. Just a little. Her metal rod still in hand. The man saw her and smiled. "You made it," he said. "You survived." Lyra didn't speak. Her voice was weak from not talking for so long. He didn't come closer. He just pointed at himself. "James," he said slowly. "I'm from Earth," Lyra whispered. "Lyra." James nodded. "Hello, Lyra." A long silence. Lyra asked, "Why are you here?" "We found an old signal," James replied. "A distress call from this sector. We didn't know anyone was alive. But I came to check. I'm sorry it took so long." Her eyes filled with tears again. Not from sadness, but from something new. Something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. "You are the first one," she said softly. No one else came. James stood up slowly. "Then let's make this the beginning," he said. "We're not leaving anyone behind." He reached out a hand, open and gentle. Lyra looked at it for a long time. Then, slowly, she dropped the metal rod and walked forward. Her steps were unsure, like a child learning to walk. She placed her hand in his. The cold wind blew past them, but neither moved. In that moment, on a silent planet full of ghosts, a new story began, a human and a forgotten girl. And far above them, the stars seemed to shine just a little brighter. The human stranger. The wind howled through the empty towers as night fell across the ruined world. Lyra sat near a small fire, its orange light dancing across the walls of the broken building. She had not made a fire in years, not since her parents were taken. But tonight, There was someone else here. James, the human, sat across from her, quiet, respectful. His helmet lay beside him and his hands were open, palms up, showing he had no weapon, no threat, just warmth and silence. But silence was strange now. Silence between two people meant something. Questions, memories, fear. Lyra watched him closely. He looked different from her people. His skin tanned, hair short and dark, his face marked with a small scar near his eye. That scar told her one thing. This man had seen war. She finally broke the silence. Why would a human come here? Her voice cracked. This world has nothing left. James took a slow breath. We found a signal. Weak. Buried in the radiation. Someone sent it years ago. Earth ignored it at first. But I didn't. You came alone? Lyra asked. Yes, he replied. My crew thought it was a waste of fuel. They said this place was dead. But something in me said no. I needed to see for myself. He looked at her, his voice quiet. And now I see. This planet isn't dead. Not fully. You're still here. Lyra looked down. I shouldn't be. A heavy pause. What happened here? James asked gently. To your people? Her body tensed. Her fingers dug into the ground. The machines came, she whispered. They weren't like anything we'd seen, not alive, not metal, something between. They called themselves the Seraph. We didn't even understand what they wanted. One day we saw lights in the sky. 2 days later, our cities were ash. James listened, his eyes never leaving hers. We tried to fight, she said. We had weapons, ships, but it didn't matter. They learned every time we struck them. They adapted, and then they vanished, like they were never real. She paused, her voice shaking. They took my parents, she said. They left the rest to die slowly. Sickness, hunger, fear. I was 11. James said nothing, he only nodded. Not with pity, but with respect. And since then, he asked, I hid in an old survival shelter. I found food packs, filters, old tech. I stayed quiet. I waited, but no one came. Until now, James said. Lyra nodded slowly. Until now. The fire popped, sending sparks into the air. She stared into it for a long time. Then something changed. A sharp sound outside. Like metal scraping stone, Lyra jumped. Her hand reached for the metal rod again. James stood quickly, his body alert. His hand hovered near a small weapon holstered on his belt, but he didn't draw it. Stay behind me, he said softly. They moved toward the door, slow and silent. Outside, the air was heavy, as if the night itself was holding its breath. There, movement in the shadows. James raised a light and pointed it toward the rubble. For a second, nothing. Then, something shifted. It was not alive. Not fully. A figure, tall and twisted, part machine, part something else. Wires moved like muscles. Its head turned with a soft clicking sound. One red eye glowed in the center of its face. Seraph, Lyra whispered, frozen in fear. It's a scout, James said, his voice tight. They're watching. They know someone is here. The machine stepped forward, then paused. And then, it spoke not with words but a horrible, broken voice made of static and echoes. She is not yours. James drew his weapon fast, firing a blue pulse directly at the machine's chest. It hit. Sparks flew. The thing fell back, twitching. Run, James said. Go. They ran into the building. Behind them, the machine rose again, slower this time, damaged but not dead. It was waiting, Lyra said, breathless. It knew someone would come. And now it will tell the others, James replied. They're coming. Lyra's heart pounded. What do we do? He looked at her, his voice strong now. We survive, and we fight. But not here. Not alone. Where? My ship, he said. It's small, but it's fast. We can make it to the beacon. I'll call for help. And if they don't answer? James smiled faintly. Then we show them that humanity still stands. As the two figures ran across the ruins toward the ship, the sky behind them glowed, a red signal pulsing high above. The Seraph had seen, and they were waking up. Shadows in the wreckage, the wind screamed louder now. Dust and ash flew through the broken streets as James and Lyra ran toward the ship. Behind them, the red glow in the sky pulsed like a heartbeat, slow and terrible. The machine scout had sent its signal. They were no longer alone. James stopped at the top of a hill and raised his hand. Wait, he said, breathing hard. We can't go straight to the ship. They'll expect that. Lyra crouched beside him. What then? Pointed to the ruins ahead. Black towers half fallen, twisted metal, old war wreckage. We go through the wreckage. The old battlefield. It'll hide us. For now. She nodded, even though her hands were shaking. That place was cursed. Everyone said so, back when there were people to say things. But now, there was no other path. They moved quietly into the ruins. The air smelled of rust and something sharp, like broken energy. Machines and alien bones were scattered across the ground. Burned armor, shattered weapons, broken helmets. This was where her people made their last stand. What happened here? James asked, scanning the wreckage. Lyra's voice was hollow. The final battle. They gave everything. They tried to stop the Seraph from reaching the core. The core? James asked. She nodded. Under the planet, deep inside, a power source, ancient and alive. We don't understand it, but the Seraph wanted it. And did they take it? Lyra looked down. We don't know. They walked deeper into the field of death. Suddenly, a strange humming noise echoed through the ground, low and steady. Almost like a voice. Lyra stopped. You hear that? James listened. Yes, beneath us. He knelt, placing a small scanner on the cracked ground. The screen lit up, strange symbols, heat signatures, movement. There's something active below us, he said. The core, Lyra whispered. Or worse. James stood slowly. We need to move. But as they turned, something rose from the wreckage. A shape, tall, thin, made of black and white metal. Its face was smooth like glass, and its arms ended in long, needle-like claws. It made no sound. Then another appeared, and another. 3 Seraph Guardians, watching them with glowing eyes. James raised his weapon. Stay behind me. Lyra didn't move. She was frozen, her heart pounding. One of the Seraph stepped forward. Unauthorized presence detected, it said in a voice made of many voices. We're leaving, James said, trying to sound calm. You are not permitted? Yeah, James muttered. I figured. He fired. The shot hit the nearest machine in the head. It staggered, sparks flying, but didn't fall. Then everything exploded. The battlefield came alive. Machines rising from the ground, their eyes flashing. Weapons charged. Alarms screamed. James grabbed Lyra's hand. Run! They ran through the ruins as blasts of energy exploded around them. Metal beams crashed. Old bones turned to dust. The Seraph moved fast, too fast. They dove behind a wrecked tank. James fired again, this time hitting a weak point in one of the machines. It fell twitching. But more came. We won't make it, Lyra shouted. James pulled a small black device from his belt. Maybe we will. What is that? A beacon. It sends one signal, and it burns out after that. I only get one shot. Shot for what? A rescue. He pressed the button. A high-pitched tone rang out. Then silence. Nothing happened. Then, the ground shook. Lyra looked up. A massive shadow passed over the battlefield. From the clouds above, a human gunship broke through the ash. It was dark gray, shaped like a blade with glowing blue engines. It hovered, then released a wave of pulse fire across the battlefield. Seraph screamed. Machines exploded. The sky lit up. "They heard you," Lyra said in shock. "Yeah," James replied, pulling her to her feet. "I told you, we don't leave our own behind." Ropes dropped from the ship. Soldiers slid down, human Marines in power armor, guns ready. They formed a circle around James and Lyra. "Package secure," one soldier said into his comm. "Extracting now." James looked at Lyra. "We're getting out." Lyra stared at the battlefield one last time. Then she looked at James. "They won't stop," she said. "You know that, right?" "I know," he said. "And neither will we." As they lifted into the air, the battlefield burned below them. But somewhere deep beneath the planet's surface, something ancient opened its eyes, something the Seraph had tried to wake, and failed. And now, it was waking on its own, the truth of the fall. The human ship cut through the sky like a blade of light, leaving behind the burning battlefield. Inside, the air was tense. Soldiers moved with quiet focus. The ship was strong, fast, built for war, but right now it felt like a floating shelter in the middle of a rising storm. Lyra sat near the back, wrapped in a silver thermal blanket. She had never been on a human ship before. Everything was new. The humming of the engines, the cold metal walls, the calm voices of people who hadn't lived in fear for years. James sat beside her, helmet off, eyes sharp. He hadn't spoken much since the extraction. He watched the screen in front of them where a red light kept blinking. "They're still tracking us," he said. "Even from underground." Lyra looked at him. "They never give up." James nodded. "Neither do we," a voice came over the comms. "Captain, incoming message from command." James stood. "Route it to briefing room 1. Lyra, come with me." She followed him through narrow halls into a dark room with a large screen. The image flickered back on, then showed a woman in a black uniform, sharp eyes and steel voice. "Captain James," she said. "You found a survivor?" "Yes, Commander. 1. Her name is Lyra. She's important." "Why?" James looked at Lyra, then back at the screen. "She knows about the core." The commander's expression didn't change. "We've lost 2 scout teams to that region. No one came back. You're saying the girl survived for nearly a decade, and she knows why the Seraph attacked?" "Not everything," Lyra said, stepping forward. "But I remember things my father told me." "Your father?" the commander asked. "He was a guardian of the Deep Temple, before the fall." James turned sharply. "You didn't tell me that." "I was afraid," Lyra said. "But I remember. Now. Pieces are coming back." "What temple?" the commander asked. "The one below the surface," Lyra replied. "The one built around the core. It wasn't made by us. It was found thousands of years ago." The screen flickered again. New data appeared. Old maps, scans, lost records from the war. "Show us," the commander said. Lyra walked to the screen and pointed at an ancient ruin marked on the map. "Here, it's hidden under the main city ruins. My father took me there once. He said the core wasn't a weapon, it was a warning." James frowned. "A warning about what?" Lyra's voice dropped to a whisper. "About the Seraph." The room fell silent. "The Seraph didn't create the core," she continued. "They were searching for it, following it. They believed something was trapped inside, something old, something powerful." James stepped closer. "Did they open it?" "They tried," she said. "But my people stopped them. Or so we thought." Suddenly an alert rang through the ship. "Captain," a voice shouted, "you need to see this. Now." They rushed back to the control deck. On the screen, a live feed showed the planet behind them. Something was happening. The ground was shaking, mountains crumbling, energy rising from beneath the surface. "It's activating," James said. "The core is waking up." Lyra's face went pale. "We're too late." "What does that mean?" one soldier asked. "It means," she said, "the thing inside the core, it's not just energy, it's alive." James turned to his pilot. Take us into orbit. We need full scan range. As the ship rose higher, the clouds below parted, and then they saw it. A massive structure had broken through the ground. Black metal spires twisting into the sky. Energy flowed from its center like blood from a wound. At the top, a sphere pulsing with dark light. That's not a temple, James said. It's a prison. Lyra's hands shook. And it's opening. We need to shut it down, James said. The commander's voice came back over comms. No, you return to base. We're calling in the fleet. This is beyond your command. With respect, Commander, James replied. This girl is the only person who's been inside that place, and she's saying we don't have time. The Commander paused. We'll send reinforcements, she said finally. But you have clearance to lead a recon team inside. If there's still a way to stop this, find it. The screen went dark. James looked at Lyra. You're sure you remember the way? She nodded slowly. I remember the doors, the path, and the voices. Voices? They spoke. From the walls. Not in language, in feelings. Fear. Anger. Hunger. James turned to his crew. Gear up, we're going back. To the surface? One Marine asked. No, James said. Deeper. As the team prepared, Lyra stood by the window. Her world was dying again. But this time, she wasn't hiding. This time, she was walking into the fire, because something inside her told her the truth, the fall of her world, wasn't an accident. And now the thing that caused it was waking up. Enemies of the past. The silence before war is the loudest sound. As James's ship dropped back into the planet's atmosphere, the heat of re-entry burned along the hull, painting fire across the sky. Below them, the land shook. Mountains cracked. Rivers turned to steam. The structure rising from the core was not stopping. It was growing. Inside the ship, the team stood ready, armored, armed, and focused. But they all knew the truth. They were walking into something ancient. Something no one understood. Lyra stood among them. No armor, no weapon, just memories and fear. And something more. Something in her blood was changing. She could feel the hum of the planet in her bones. She didn't know why. Not yet. You don't have to go in, James said to her quietly. Yes, I do, she replied. This started with my people. It has to end with me. James nodded. Then we end it together. The ship landed on a rocky ridge above the new structure. What once was a hidden ruin was now a full monolith. Black metal veins twisting, out like roots digging into the earth. Lightning danced around it, striking the ground in random bursts. The air smelled of burning metal and dust. As the team stepped out, they heard it, a sound deep in the ground, like a heartbeat made of stone and fire. Move in, James said. We find the entrance. Stay sharp. They climbed down the rocks and reached a wide tunnel opening at the base. It was shaped like an eye, round, smooth, and glowing faintly, red. It's awake, Lyra whispered. It knows we're here. Then let's not keep it waiting, James replied. They entered the core. Inside, the walls pulsed with light. Strange symbols moved like water across the metal surface. Machines, long dead, twitched as if something was pulling at them. The deeper they went, the colder it became, but not the cold of air. It was the cold of being watched. After several levels, the path split into 3 tunnels. Which way? One soldier asked. Lyra closed her eyes. She didn't think, she felt. Her hand moved toward the left path. This one, she said. The center leads to death. The right is a trap. They followed her. Each step echoed louder than the last. The lights grew darker, red turning to black. Then they found it. The chamber of the seal. A wide room, perfectly round. At its center stood a massive door with strange writing all around. Hovering above the seal was a black crystal spinning slowly, humming like it had a voice. This is it, Lyra said. What's behind it? James asked. She looked at the crystal. And then, her mind was pulled inside. Visions flooded her, not memories. Something deeper. She saw her father standing at this door, bleeding, shouting words she couldn't hear. She saw the Seraph attacking the seal, their machines melting as the core fought back. She saw the true enemy, not the Seraph. Something older, something imprisoned, a being made of thought and hunger, sealed in the core long ago by an alliance of many worlds, including hers. The Seraph weren't evil. They were servants. Guardians once, twisted by the being inside, infected by its will. She opened her eyes, gasping. "It's not just power," she said. "It's a mind. A living mind. Trapped in this place. The Seraph want to free it." James stepped forward. "Then we seal it again." "We can't," Lyra said. "The old seal is breaking. Only someone who carries the code can create a new one." "What code?" "Me," she said. "My blood, my family were keepers of the old alliance. It's why they took my father. It's why they left me alive." Suddenly, a sharp metallic scream echoed through the chamber. From the shadows, a figure stepped forward. Not a machine, not a man. Something in between. Its body was made of shifting plates, its face half burned, half smooth like a mask. "You should not have returned," it said. "Who are you?" James asked, raising his weapon. "I was the first," the figure said. "The first to open the gate. The first to hear the voice in the dark. I am the Herald." It moved closer, step by step. "You think you've come to stop this," it said. "You're too late. The god below wakes. It does not want your death. It wants your surrender." James fired. The bullet passed through, but the Herald didn't fall. It shifted, blurred, and reformed. "Run," James shouted. But Lyra didn't run. She stepped toward the seal, blood dripping from her fingers. "What are you doing?" James yelled. "It wants me," Lyra said. "But it doesn't know me." She placed her hand on the crystal. The room exploded in light. The seal opened, just a crack, and behind it, 100 eyes made of shadow and light stared back. A voice entered her mind. Soft, cruel, endless. "Child of the Keepers, kneel." Lyra smiled and whispered, "No." Energy burst from the crystal, blasting the Herald backward. The chamber shook. "Seal it." James shouted, "I can't!" Lyra screamed. "Not alone." James ran to her, placed his hand over hers. "Then you're not alone." Their hands pressed together on the crystal. The seal responded. The eyes screamed, and the door began to close. For you, now. Humanity stands with her. The seal was closing, but the chamber was still shaking. Lyra collapsed to her knees, breathless. Her body felt heavy, like something inside her had been pulled and stretched. The voice in her mind had gone silent, but not gone. Behind her, James helped her to her feet. His face was pale, but steady. "You did it," he said. "No," Lyra whispered, looking up at him. "We did." But the moment of peace didn't last. The ground shook again. Deeper this time. Slower. The kind of sound that wasn't just under the earth. It was under reality itself. Above them, the walls cracked. Black light bled through the metal like ink. The seal had closed, yes, but something had awakened on the other side, and it had seen her. James turned to the others. "We're leaving. Now." They ran through the dark halls of the core, the same way they came. The once silent ruins were now alive with sound, grinding metal, distant screams, and whispers that made the skin crawl. Halfway through the tunnel, their comms buzzed. "Captain James, come in. This is the Valiant Dawn. We're in orbit. What's your status?" James clicked his mic. "We sealed the gate, but something's still coming. Prepare for evac, and warn the fleet. This isn't just a rescue, it's war." They reached the surface as the storm broke. But this was no normal storm. The sky had torn open. Black clouds twisting into a spiral, with lightning made of shadow. From the mountains, giant machines rose, Titans of the Seraph, long hidden underground. Their bodies glowed with red light, and their weapons hummed with energy. The enemy had woken fully, and it was marching. "Get to the ship," James shouted. Lyra stumbled as the ground cracked beneath her. James caught her hand again. "I've got you," he said. Behind them, one of the soldiers fell, caught by a machine's claw. Another screamed as a beam of red light sliced through the air. They made it to the dropship, barely. "Go! Go! Go!" James yelled. The ship lifted off, engines roaring. Bullets and beams flew around them. From above, the valiant Dawn, a human, battlecruiser opened fire, blue streaks of plasma lighting up the battlefield. For a moment it looked like the humans might win, but then it came. A wave. A pulse of energy from the core. Not a weapon. A command. And every seraph turned and attacked at once. Even the earth itself trembled, as if the planet no longer wanted life on its surface. The ship shook as they broke into the sky. Alarms screamed. Damage warnings lit the screens. "This isn't a battle," Lyra said quietly, watching the destruction below. "This is the start of extinction." James didn't answer. His eyes were on the stars. They reached orbit, and the full scale of the threat became clear. The core had become a beacon, a signal pulsing across space. It wasn't calling the Seraph anymore. It was calling others, ancient machines, dormant fleets, broken gods. "Captain," the Admiral's voice crackled through the screen, "prepare to receive reinforcements. We're not letting this thing spread. Earth Command is sending everything." James nodded. About time. As the fleet formed, dozens of human ships blinking into orbit, Lyra stood at the window. She had lived so long in silence, thinking no one would ever come. Now, they had. Not one. Not a scout. Not a whisper of hope. But a force. A family. A world of people who didn't even know her, but were ready to fight beside her. One by one, the human ships turned their weapons toward the planet and fired. The ground shook. Seraph Titans fell, but the enemy was still rising. This wasn't over. In the command room, Lyra placed her hand on the glass and spoke, almost to herself. "My world died in silence. But this one will rise in fire." James stepped beside her. "You're not just a survivor, Lyra. You're a spark, and humanity protects its fire." "We can't win alone," she said. "We won't," he replied. "But we don't do alone anymore." Outside the ship, the sky lit up with battle. Inside, Lyra's eyes glowed faintly. Something inside her was changing. Not just memory, not just power, but legacy. A new home among the stars' space burned. Above the dying world, the stars were hidden behind warships, smoke and fire. The human fleet had grown. Ships of all shapes and sizes now hovered in orbit, from sleek fighters to heavy dreadnoughts. They came from Earth, from Mars, from colonies spread across the stars. Some had arrived broken, patched with emergency repairs, but they came because someone had asked for help. Because someone, one girl, half forgotten by her own world, had survived, and humanity had answered. On the bridge of the valiant Dawn, Lyra stood beside Captain James. Her face was pale, but her eyes were alive, clearer than they'd ever been. The glow that had begun within her now pulsed in her veins. Not just light, not power, something older, a memory of the universe itself. "Status?" James asked the crew. "Our forward ships have pushed the Seraph back," a young officer replied. "But we can't hold them forever. They're adapting." "They always do," James muttered. "But they've never fought us like this." He turned to Lyra. "It's time." She nodded. "Are you sure you're ready?" he asked. "I have to be," she said. "This is my legacy, and maybe my purpose." The core below them, that ancient prison buried beneath her fallen world and was now fully open. Not shattered but unlocked. Sealed once by ancient hands, broken by war. Now it had awakened. Inside it, the voice still whispered. Not just to her, to everything. Machines, bent to it, thoughts twisted around it. But Lyra had touched it, and it had touched her back. She had something the voice did not expect. Will. They entered the inner sanctum of the ship, a chamber built for the dangerous, the unthinkable. Here was the device, the key. Not a weapon of destruction, but of memory, a mind link system. The humans had rebuilt what the ancients left behind, a way to connect, not to control, but to contain. It needed someone whose blood carried the old signature, a descendant of the Keeper's Lyra. Once you connect, James said, you'll be inside with it. You'll see what it sees, feel what it feels. And lock it again, she whispered. Yes, if it doesn't consume you. She placed her hand on the interface. The machine hissed, not angry, not welcoming. It noticed her. The room dimmed, and then silence. Lyra stood in darkness, not cold, not hot, just endless. In front of her floated the being, not a body but a shape made of broken stars. It had eyes but not eyes, wings but not wings. It was made of forgotten thoughts and fallen empires. You do not belong here, it said. Never did, she replied. I offered you power, and I chose people. They will fall, all of them. Maybe, Lyra said. But not today. The being moved closer. It towered above her, filling the void. Your people locked me away. For a reason. You are dying, girl. A spark in the void. Then I'll burn bright. She raised her hands. Behind her, not humans, not machines, but memory. She saw her father, her people, the soldiers who died to protect the seal. She saw James, his crew, his world, all standing with her, not gods, just people. And they were enough. She whispered the ancient words, not from her mind, from her soul. The seal formed. The prison closed. The voice screamed. And then, silence. Real silence. Not the kind that comes after loss, but the kind that comes after peace. Lyra opened her eyes. James was beside her, holding her up. The room was glowing with soft blue light. You did it, he said. I think, she whispered. I survived again. Outside the ship, the Seraph stopped moving. Their lights dimmed. Their weapons dropped. The voice was gone. And for the first time in years, the planet below was quiet. Not dead. Quiet. 2 weeks later, Lyra stood on a wide balcony aboard the new space station orbiting the ruins of her world. The sky was clear. The smoke had faded. Construction ships floated nearby, building a new future from the ashes of the old. So, James said, walking beside her. What now? I don't know, Lyra said, smiling for the first time in what felt like a lifetime. I thought I had no one. Now, I have everyone. You're one of us now, James said. You always were. I still hear the stars sometimes, she whispered. But now they sound friendly. Want to go see them? She looked at him. Yes. They turned toward the dock where a new ship awaited, its name painted in fresh white letters. Homebound. Azure. They boarded. The station lights blinked gently as if waving goodbye. And far below, on the healing world, the first trees began to grow again. The planet had fallen, but it had risen again, and so had she.